is for these details, these detailed areas of shadow. Shadow and light play off of each other. One can't exist without the other. A drawing that doesn't have that imbalance tends to look, in my opinion, uneven, unfinished, and it also brings back to mind what I've mentioned before, that I am not a big fan or proponent of comic book art that is actually shot or filmed. This is what I mean by the word shot, as in photography, photographed from the pencils, and let me rephrase that: they're penciled, then given to the colorist to color, and then after that they are photostated to be printed by the printer. I think that so what they do is they don't pay an inker, even if it was the penciler himself or another person. So they save money on that. I get that. It's also cutting a corner and being cheap. You can look at it either way. I look at it as, yeah, you're taking, a possible work for hire contract from peers out there that are doing this type of work for Marvel, DC, or whatever the company might be. Usually it is the big two that will produce these types of comics. Um, and they don't look that good. The problem with coloring on top of, and I don't care whether it's computer coloring. People will say that it's whatever the program might be, Photoshop, whatever. There's AI now, so it's gonna look perfect. Nope, AI does not look perfect. AI looks like bright colors smashed together to give you the illusion of a drawing, and it looks too sanitized. It looks unoriginal. It looks fake to me. But anyways, the idea of shooting from the pencils started. I mean, it's not new. It was done back in I think the late '80s, early '90s in the comics. It's been done in other formats, probably before we did it in comics. Um, See, you can use a brush like this. It's a little bit worn, but I'm not trying to get into the small, minuscule details. I'm just trying to get this heavy line right up against the border. Also, the trick that you have to learn over time is how to use a brush like this and ink an area without going over the holding line. Got to use the very tippy tip, like this, and not obliterate the line that you're drawing inside of, if that makes sense. And that takes practice, lots of practice. That's another. So, anyways, hopefully you can see that the play of shadows on her tunic, which turns into a full-fledged dress, is coming through. And I have to check the video. Let me see how the camera's doing. Are you all good up there? Yep. All right. Let me just finish the filigree here. I'm going to use the brush a little bit more just because I wouldn't want someone in the comment section saying he talks about brushes, but he never uses them. How much he loves them, but he doesn't use them. Well, I'm using them. Every tool that I mention in this in my channel here, I'm going to let you know that I use. Um, and I like to just sort of verbally, when I do the voiceover here, I should say the commentary, let you know, the viewer, the conditions upon which I use the tools, and when I will use them and when I won't use them. Here it's getting sketchy. I got a little space here to fill in. Sometimes if there's not a defined shape that's going in a particular direction for a particular space of ink, I'll use the brush, fine and dandy. But other times I need a pen. Like I'm going to show you what I mean right now. Okay, so I'm getting this part of the tunic. It's starting to coalesce. It's coming together, but not completely. Now, so here we are going to implement the 0.1 and go here into this little outcropping of shadow. Oops, there's something wrong with the pen. It's dead. That's what's wrong with it. Another one to throw away. These Copic pens I go through like you would not believe how quickly. Oh boy, I don't know if I have another one. This is my satchel. Shoot, folks, this might be coming to an end real quick. There's a 1.0. That's too big. Okay, a 0.5. Oh, what is this? Is this my? No, that's another brush. Let me leave that there. All right, let me see. No, that's a 0.5. I've got one out here. I did not bring enough of the 1.0s. Maybe I could do it with this and the brush. All right, let me see. I don't want to get my head in the way. Sometimes I got to get closer to the board to see the little tiny detail. And I am a fastidious individual for the details in a drawing. They're not always. It's not. I mean, if you're doing a sketch, it's not necessary. I had to pull away from that rapid descent years ago when I was just beating myself up because I wasn't drawing detailed, which is ridiculous if you think about it. But a sketch is not supposed to be that. But when you do a final rendering and a final drawing, it is supposed to be that. One of the people that comes to mind, besides, of course, one of my idols and teachers, is that was George Perez. George Perez is a guy named Travis Charest. Travis Charest from early 90s to the early aughts was working, I think, off and on for Wildstorm Studios under Image, and he eventually seemed to have, I don't know, faded out, went and did other things, perhaps, kind of left the comic book industry. But of late, there's been a cover or two that he's done, or a pin up in the back of a comic book, and it's just great to see him back at work and doing what he does best. And he had this feel for, and it's not the kind of details that you would find, shall we say, like with a Jim Lee. I mention him more, but I'm not a super fan, I guess you could say. I admire his work, past work. The current stuff on Hush too is looks like it's being telegraphed in, or phoned in. I don't think most people would remember what a telegraph is, but me and 6 other people on here. So yeah, he's been phoning that in. The comic book is late. It's behind schedule. Why? There's a dozen reasons probably, or at least a couple, which I couldn't care any less about. I looked at the first issue and read it, and it's really a shame, because at the end of the day, it does feel like I will go. So I will, at some point in the near future, put in some information. Okay, here we go. Okay, we're almost past our time. Woo, we're at 23 minutes. All right, we're going to wrap this up in 2 minutes. But yeah, there is I will put in a link for a Substack that I plan on bringing to my subscribers and viewers, and where I can actually expound on my ideas and my concepts of a bunch of things, financial matters that I'm pursuing, how to take care of credit issues and so forth, but also just a random opinion or commentary that I'd like to express, and it'll be my information, my research, and one of them would be like the state of the comic book industry, which fascinates me to no end to read about and learn about it. I will present my opinion in one of those articles that I will write within my Substack. So look for that in the near future. I don't know exactly when, but it'll be in the coming months, maybe weeks. I have to set all that up first. but I have the general idea of what I want to do. And if I wrote an article, which I pretty much already have, on this issue of, DC trying to lift its raise all boats with a high tide, which they decided was going to be Jeb Loeb and Jim Lee on Hush too. I just think that was a bad call. And why? Well, there's several reasons, but I'll give you a freebie here. You don't even have to subscribe with your email at this point yet. The Substack will be, for those that don't know, it'll be a place where I can actually own the material that I create outright. My thoughts, my sort of journalistic endeavors to present articles about a variety of different topics. Again, dealing with art and business. Those will be the two center points. But so my point with the Hush storyline is, I read the first issue and it just felt like we've been here before. This is like ground that's already been trodden upon over and over again. The Joker's about to die somehow, some way. It's up to Bruce Wayne, of all people, to save him. And again, of course, he's going to save him because, the writer, which is Jeb Loeb, is going off of the archetype, the original sort of foundation of what makes Bruce Bruce. And I get all that, but they also seem to be a little, I don't know, a little lost with the scripting. They seem to have not read anything that has transpired with the characters since they wrote their Hush 1 25 years ago. The writings of Barrio Nuevo and all these other people that created Hush stories for Detective Comics and Batman. There's, I think, even I think there's a Hush Omni or whatever, that all of his stories are packed into. They should have done the homework. They should have read all that first before they tried to go back to a character that they'd already visited. Yes, they created the character, but even then, in the original, what was it? It was a 12-issue run. It was. I hate to say it, folks, but at first I was excited. Yeah, this is great, and it read okay. And as it developed on the second and the third issue, but the second and the third issue, I knew there were plots, there were holes in the plot, in the plot lines in plural. And one of them in particular was that, which I find odious, there was never a definition of who Tommy Elliott really was, or how he became what he became. How do you take a world renowned, if you want to say that? They didn't even really specify that he was a world renowned surgeon or plastic surgeon or whatever, but that he was just a well known, very good surgeon. So he goes from becoming a surgeon. I don't know any doctorate or people that have gone to, I should say, medical school, become an MD or a surgeon after years and years of effort and practice and homework and sacrifice, and would have time to become an agile super fighter equal to or greater than Batman, Bruce Wayne, who had developed his entire mind, body, and life to that, to more, martial arts and all of those things that make Bruce Wayne into the Batman. How he could hold a candle to the character, especially in a physical confrontation, and be equal to or best him, seemed hollow. That was a glaring, huge plot point that was never explained. Um, and I don't think that they could explain it, even if they'd had three more issues or four more issues, because it just would have sounded hollow. It wouldn't have made sense. Not especially if they were around the same age group. All right, let me get stopping here. I think we're going to subdivide this into two. All right, I think we're done here. Don't forget to subscribe. See you on the next one. Prime Moments.